Are you a thoughtful leader? Maybe you are. Maybe you think you are. Let's find out. I'm Mindy Gibbins-Klein. I'm author of The Thoughtful Leader and host of the Thoughtful Leader podcast. Thoughtful leadership is all about thought leadership that goes above and beyond. Thought leadership that is truly new and original, exciting, disruptive, maybe even groundbreaking. Because let's face it, we need to raise the bar. My guests and I are absolutely obsessed with finding truly original thought leadership, and I'm going to bring you so many exciting ideas and opportunities, things for you to think about, and chances for you to push your thinking that you'll be very glad you tuned in. So thanks so much for checking out Thoughtful Leadership and the Thoughtful Leader podcast. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Welcome to the show. My guest today is the amazing thoughtful leader, Martin Cowart. Now, I met Martin online. This is becoming a theme, right, listeners? I do meet a lot of people online because I'm online a lot, but it's really very few people who stand out and make an impact and where we make time to get to know each other. And it's only been a few months, but he is doing some really cool things. And so, of course, I had to invite him onto the show. Hi, Martin.
Hello, Mindy. It's great to be here. And thank you for inviting me to be on your show.
Well, so we like talking about thoughtful leadership, which includes being thoughtful and leadership topics. And I think the stuff you're doing absolutely fits that definition. Why don't you tell everybody about your big project?
That could take us all day, but let me see if I can break that down into a really short little capsule here for us. The big project that I'm working on right now is to create a virtual global community for people to live, to work, and build relationships in the world. It's called the Global LGBT Community Coaching Program. It is both a community and a coaching program. And the purpose of this new community, this new virtual global community, is to do two things, to solve two problems that I think are challenging us in the world right now. On our side, which I'm just going to call the Western side, it's not necessarily Western, but I'm going to call it the Western side to make this conversation a little easier. On our side, we're moving into virtual reality. We are living in virtual space. You said we met online. That is the norm of the future. We are going to be doing everything online, and with AG and what we know about quantum physics, we are going to become a virtual reality online in the future. Now, the problem is we have not learned how really to build relationships online. We're great at transactions, but we've not done a very good job of building relationships first. And that's part of what we're going to be doing. That's fundamental to what we're going to be doing in this global space, is we're going to build relationships first, and that's going to drive the transactions that are going to take place after the relationships. Where right now we're trying to do things backwards by doing transactions first, which have no emotional impact to them. We don't really connect, and we don't get it. We're not as productive, and we're not as creative, and we don't have as much fun. So part of it is to solve this problem about how do we work and be more creative and more productive in the world by building relationships with people all over the world, especially people who are of diverse backgrounds. That's one problem we're going to solve. The second problem we have is the continent of Africa, which is currently right now a continent of a lot of very homophobic countries, some of them very hostile toward LGBTQ people, of which I'm a part of that family. So the biggest problem that queer Africans face today is unemployment. So part of this program is going to be, one, when people on the Western side purchase a membership, and it's a very low cost membership, it's only $97 a month, which gives you all the coaching and the ability and the access to all the services you get in my other programs. But what it's also going to do, it's going to buy a scholarship for an LGBTQ African who has no money because they can't get a job. And the reason they can't get a job is because in Africa, if you're gay, you're considered a curse. And in some countries like Uganda, your family can actually kill you to save their family name. So to solve this problem, unemployment problem, we're going to be bringing those people in, introducing you, build relationships so that people on the Western side can see and understand, get to know these brilliant, what I call diamonds, who want to go to work, who want to help support you in your business, who want to be a part of the world, who want to contribute to the economy, and who want to make a difference in the world. So that's what we're creating. That's the big thing we're creating over here. We're creating, it's called the Global LGBTQ Heartspace Community Coaching Program. And we're really, really excited about that.
Wow. Listeners, I hope you were able to pick up even just a fraction of the vision and the excitement and the potential of this project. And this is what thoughtful leadership is all about. This is about putting more thought and quality thought into your leadership. And you know, Martin, you've been running businesses, you're a successful professional, and you have that skill set to bring to the table. You also have a big heart. And you also, from what I was just listening to now and speaking to you several times before this, you also put together two things that maybe somebody else wouldn't put together. Some folks would call that thought leadership, which it is, but it's also thoughtful just because of the way you've gone about it. But why don't you tell us what thoughtful leadership means to you?
That's a wonderful question. I think for me, thoughtful leaders is thinking about the impact we're making on the world. Thought leadership is thinking beyond our own personal agendas. It's thinking about, it's really based on what I believe to be the fundamentals of a wonderful, happy life. And that is to be really clear about who we are as both human and spirit, or human and energy life, because spirit seems to be a little hard for some people. But you know, we're what we are is we're 100% energy. We're also 100% matter. We're human and we're energy. Let's use the word energy instead of spirit, because some people hear the word spirit and they think religion. So, but we are energy. We are the life force energy of the world. And when we come from the thoughtfulness of that heart space, we have the power within ourselves to change the world and transform lives and save lives. That's what thoughtful leadership is. Thoughtful leadership is to be wholehearted and think from our hearts about the impact we're doing. And what's so exciting about the world we live in today is that since the pandemic, the world is collectively moving towards a thoughtful leadership majority. I mean, right now, people are more and more people are thinking business, are feeling not only is it good for me personally as maybe the CEO of a big company, but also I want to leave a legacy of an impact, of an effect that I made during my time as the CEO of a big company or a small company or an entrepreneur. It doesn't really matter. But we want thoughtful leaders, people who want to leave an impact or making it toward change, toward the betterment of our world. That's what thoughtful leader is. You're thinking, if we do this, will it make the world better? Will it make their life better? Will it make my life better?
Well, that is something that I've seen in many, if not all, of our guests on the podcast. This is what excites me. I was just a bit dubious about whether we are heading for a majority. I'm sure we're not there yet, because you know there's a lot of fear and scarcity mentality, and people who during the pandemic and economic crisis and all the other geopolitical issues have battened down the hatches and are just trying to live in survival mode. So that's a reality. And it's my opinion, I'll ask you what you think. It's my opinion, Martin, that when people are in that kind of fear and scarcity mode, they've shut things down. And even though they have a heart and they are pure energy, that energy is being focused in a very narrow band. And we need the thoughtful leaders to open up that space, open up the possibilities, explain, like the Buddha did, you know, when you light someone else's candle, it doesn't diminish your own flame. What do you think about all this?
I think that is spot on, and that's exactly what you and I are doing. because you're exactly right. And let's just talk about what you said was fear. And let's talk about it first at the individual level. We can't change the world until we change ourselves and our own shadows and our own fears first within our very own hearts and our own lives and our own bodies. And that way we can begin to make the changes we're making out there in the world to help other people begin to face their fears, because all fear is really is an energy form within our bodies. And what people get lost in, and I do too, we've all been there, is that when we got fear coming up, we can't see the truth because it blocks our ability to see the truth as it is, because the fear is standing in our way. It's an energy block, if you will. And the work I do as a ego shadow work coach is to help you move that block, help you see that block. Really, what we help to get rid of the block is to love it. People often ask me, what is ego shadow work anyway? And ego shadow work is learning to love the parts of ourselves we hide, repress, and deny because we don't like that part of ourselves. It's the part of us that shows up when we're acting out of fear. Really, we're acting out of fear because we're trying to protect something we care about. So when we begin to realize that we're acting out of fear because we're trying to protect something we care about, we'll find underneath that shadow we actually love deeply. And so if we can learn to love that part of ourselves that behaves out of fear, maybe it's a manipulator, maybe it's a liar. We all have those parts we don't like. But the beauty is if we're able to, on an individual, then on a collective basis, learn how to love, accept ourselves exactly as we are and welcome those darker energies in, they will absolutely just dissolve. Because it's just a shadow. It's not even, it's just an illusion of something that's standing in our way of the truth. So that's what we do. And that's what we're doing over in Financial Heartspace is we're helping people to see their shadows and learn to bring those into their own body, into their own life, so that we can do that for the rest of the world.
It makes total sense as you describe it. It's fascinating. It's exciting. It's authentic because you have been on the journey and you're helping others. And so, this is really, really important what you're talking about. I'd like to go back in time.
Sure.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't we all? But I would like to go back in time, if you will, come with me and see if you can pinpoint when you first started to understand these concepts, care about them. What was your kind of defining moment, your big aha moment, or was it just a period of time? Was it a single moment?
I love that question. It's both. I got interested in contemplative prayer, meditation when I was 25 years old. So I had been a seeker, if you will, for spiritual, I don't know, I guess the best word is enlightenment. That's a funny word, but I've been on a path for a really, really long, since I was 25 and I'm 68 now, so that's over 40 years. So there has been a journey that I have been on. But to answer your question, the pivotal point, it's always everybody has their own moment of what I call the epiphany in our lives. I was a wealth manager, and I was a top producing wealth manager for a big firm in New York. And I had a wonderful fancy office on the 44th floor, an office overlooking Park Avenue. And I was 2 doors down from the managing. I mean, I was the cat's pajamas, if you will, of wealth management. And I was doing quite well until in 2016, we elected a very dark force into power in our country. And as a gay man, that sent me into a very dark night of the soul, I would call it. And it was like I was just projecting so much of my own fear. Like I've said before, I was projecting my fear out in the world, and I was unable to get anybody to work with me. Nobody wanted to work with me. I didn't want to work with me. I was so miserable. I was in so much darkness and so much pain that my business went to the edge of bankruptcy. And I can remember to this day, I was at home one day having a pity party like I was having, like, poor, pitiful me. I don't know why this happened to me. And I spoke to my spiritual director, my teacher, and she says, well, Martin, friends were saying you can declare bankruptcy and make all this stuff go away. And she said, well, Martin, I don't think bankruptcy is going to solve your problem. It might make you feel better and relieve some pain right now, but it's not going to solve anything. If you want to solve this, what you're going to have to do is surrender it to God. And I knew exactly what she was talking about because I had surrendered alcohol to God years ago in recovery. I no longer drink, and he works. But I never, ever, ever I was too afraid of letting go of control of my money to surrender that to God. And look at the mess that I had created. So I did exactly what she said. I got on my hands and knees and I said, God, I made a mess of my life. It's my responsibility, but I can't solve it. I need your help. I am giving this over to you. I know that you're a benevolent creator and you love me and you're going to help me. And do you know what happened? This might sound a little cheesy, but this is exactly what happened. All of a sudden, when I fully surrendered, my body was consumed with a sense of love and grace and peace that I had never experienced before. And deep within my being, I heard a voice say, none of this stuff matters, Martin. All this worry about making money, being successful, having a fancy office, driving a BMW, none of that stuff matters. The only thing that matters, Martin, is that you show up every single moment for the rest of your life with an open heart and a quiet mind of love and gratitude. And I, the divine, is already doing everything anyway, will do the rest. And that's when I became a spiritual mindset coach, because I realized what people really wanted when they came to me for financial help. And they'd say, I want financial freedom. They wanted freedom from their emotional attachments with money, the same way I got rid of my emotional attachments for money. And that's what I do. I help people get beyond their emotional attachments to money so they're free to enjoy and love money. Because most of us in our part of the world were so traumatized with money being used as a weapon to get us to do things. It was like reward and punishment. You know, if you're really good and make great grades, I'll buy you a new car. But if you don't, I'm going to take everything away from you. That created a negative relationship with money. So if we can reverse that, if we can turn that around so that you've got a loving, appreciative, then you're going to welcome money into your life and you're not going to worry and struggle so much about getting it.
Wow, I love every part of that story, as you might expect, knowing me a little bit as you do. My favorite part is where you became self-aware that you were at cause and not effect, and you chose to do something. So it's, we speak about this a lot on the show, the awareness that you can really only get from getting rid of everything else, creating the time and space. Sometimes it's an epiphany, but usually you're in the right space, you become self-aware, and then it's what you do with that. What you did with that is stunning. I'm sure we will get lots of comments and likes on the episode because, it's the hard work. Although, as I'm fond of saying, it's usually not that hard. It's harder to kind of keep fighting, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's harder to keep struggling with fear, with our attachments, fear and worry. If you're worried about something, this is something all your guests should know. If you find yourself worrying about something, I can guarantee you're attached to something that does not even exist. You're attached to losing or not getting something you want that doesn't even exist. It's some story in the past. So just if you become aware, I love that word, because everybody is all about awareness. Awareness is the key. Once we become aware of something, we can't become unaware of it. So once you become aware of the fact that you're worried about something, just ask you, what am I worried about? Am I worried about not having enough money? Am I worried about something happening in the future? We're worried about something that doesn't even exist. And so let it go. That is the key principle to living a happy and fulfilling life, is to let go of the things that you don't need so you can get all the things that you want.
It sounds fantastic. You're a beautiful speaker. Some people are probably nodding, but there comes a point where they say, wait a minute. And, what do you mean let go? What do you mean surrender? You're using all this language that I think we've been conditioned to see as weak. We've been conditioned, of course, on the other side to acquire stuff and I'm not proud of the fact that I spent many years teaching goal setting without the heart element. It's, I see it now. When you look back, you see it. But we live in this society where it's all about what can you acquire next or be next, or what's that next thing to strive for, and trample whatever you need to trample on your way and hold on to everything that you've already got. I just think that we are not helping ourselves when we continue to buy into that story. So what you're saying is really important. And let's acknowledge that it's not so easy to let go or surrender or, get on your hands and knees and, use your divine partner, shall we say, to achieve stuff. Do you have any specific tips?
Yeah, I mean, what you're hitting is exactly right. To the ego thinking mind, this can sound like a real, and it does sounds like death. It sounds like woo-woo nonsense to it, and that's what most people are. And don't beat yourself up, because for me, I think we go through various cycles of life in our journey. And yes, part of our journey as we're maturing is to acquire things, because we're looking to achieve things. We want to achieve things in our lives. And we do climb a ladder to get, like I did, to get to corporate success. And I did reach a level of success that most people don't obtain in their lifetime. I'm very lucky for that. So there's nothing wrong with what you taught, in which we had to have goals. But there comes a point in your life when it's not fulfilling. It's not giving you what you want. Your agenda for yesterday is yesterday's news. We're not slowing down long enough to pay attention to what is the universe calling on us to do today. And you may have something like what I had, or you just may have a moment to say, you know what, I'm really not happy here where I am. What should I be doing? I'm not fulfilled. I feel like maybe you've climbed the ladder, but you're on the wrong building, as we often say. So maybe you need to say, well, what building should I be on? And so what I do and what I talk about a lot is there's two things we need to know about. We need to know exactly who we are, that we're not just this, and we're much, much bigger. If we say, no, you'll find it, you're much bigger than what you think you are. When you realize that your spirit, when you become aware that you're so much bigger than you think you are, that we're actually loving consciousness that created everything in the world. And then you begin to realize you have all the creative superpowers to create the world you want. But first, you've got to know who you are. And the second thing, which comes much easier once you know who you are, the spirit and human, let's just put it that way. Once you realize that you're fully human and fully spirit with all the creative superpowers that come with that, and then you create a divine purpose or a soul's purpose or a mission or a North Star, then you've got the things that you need to guide you for the rest of your life and make a difference.
You are a very, very special guide for other people. I know you have your own spirit guide or spirit part of you. And we very rarely do get into the woo-woo stuff on this show, just because, people struggle enough with the term thoughtful, thinking it's not hard-hitting enough, etc. But, I agree with something you said before, which is that our society and people in our society are moving towards something that's more meaningful. Things like making that impact, leaving a legacy. Look at all the focus on ESG goals that are it's not just jargon. People really do care. They're voting with their feet. They're voting with their hearts. So we only have a couple of minutes left, but I just really want to bring everybody back to one of the words in your brand, which is Heartspace. Am I right? Heartspace. Yep. What is the heart space? Because I have a feeling that is the key to unlocking this potential.
Yeah, it is the key to unlocking infinite potential. And that's what heart space is. It is infinite potential. It is what Jesus called the kingdom of heaven. It's the spaciousness of everything that's holding everything together. It is what Joe Dispenza today talks about as the quantum field. It is the pure, living, loving light energy of what our spirit, of what our energy is. And heart space is going through a process of quieting the mind and opening the heart and listening for that deep voice within. Like when I had my epiphany moment, it's for listening for that deep voice of that infinite intelligence of the universe to speak to us and to cultivate that relationship so that you can be guided in your own life to live a purposeful, thoughtful life.
Well, that is the perfect way to end the episode. I wanted to go on and exactly how, but you have described in a very good way what the process is. And, if people want to explore more, listeners, viewers, you can find Martin. We've got his bio, we've got the show notes. You're very easy to find. I think you're possibly the only one online with that name. You will find him. And I'm sure everyone will agree. It's been a very special episode. And I'm going to tell people a secret here. I choose the title for the episode after we've done the whole thing and I've reflected on the most important concept that's come out. And you've said so many important things that I'm going to have to reflect even more and pick a really good title.
Well, I hope I'm giving you some wonderful things for you to think about and reflect on.
You have. The thoughtful leader is also a thought catalyst. So thank you for your energy today, Martin Cowart. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Thoughtful Leader, and I hope it's inspired you to be more thoughtful as a leader in your business. Please consider subscribing and leaving a review. An important question for you. Do you want to create a culture of thought leadership in your organization? My best-selling book, The Thoughtful Leader, is available now on Amazon and many other sites in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. Please visit www.mindygk.com for more great content. That's www.mindygk.com. Speak to you again soon.